All right, let's talk about something every single developer deals with, whether you're a fresh faced rookie or a seasoned veteran. It's this constant pull, right? This tension between building something perfectly and building it right now. The textbook versus the trenches. So, we're going to dive into this clash of philosophies and figure out how the best of the best learn to speak both languages fluently. So, let's just ask it straight up. Who actually builds better software? Is it the developer who's got all the theory down, the one with the computer science degree and a deep knowledge of algorithms? Or is it the one who's learned everything on the fly, shipping code under impossible deadlines? That's the big question we're going to unpack here. To really get a feel for these two mindsets, I think the perfect way to look at it is through an analogy. Let's call it a tale of two chefs. One is basically a culinary scientist, and the other, well, they're a master of the street food game. So first up, we've got the academically sharp chef. This is the person who understands the why behind every single thing they do. They know the food science, the Maillard reaction, the exact temperature for a perfect sous vide. In our world, this is the CS theorist. They live and breathe design patterns, they're obsessed with algorithmic complexity, and their driving goal is to build the perfect system from the ground up. And then on the flip side, you have the street smart chef. They didn't learn in a fancy classroom, they learned in the pure chaos of a slammed kitchen. Their goal is super simple. Get amazing food on the table and do it fast. They have this intuition, this feel for what works. And that's your pragmatic developer, right? The one who ships features like crazy and can debug some bizarre production issue based on nothing more than a gut feeling. But here's the catch, and this is so important. Both of these extremes have a huge, huge risk. The pure academic, they can end up creating this theoretically beautiful masterpiece of an architecture that takes so long to build that the business just moves on without it. It never ships. And the pure street smart dev, they might ship fast, for sure, but they can create what we call a ball of mud, just a messy, fragile code base that becomes an absolute nightmare to maintain. It's basically a ticking time bomb of technical debt. Okay, so let's take this out of the kitchen and drop it right into our code bases. How do these two archetypes, the theorist and the pragmatist, actually act when they're faced with a real-world coding problem? The way their brains are wired is just fascinatingly different. A theorist sees a problem, and their first thought is about algorithms. What's the most efficient way to solve this in terms of big O notation? The pragmatist, on the other hand, asks, wait, do we even need to solve this? And usually goes for a simpler, good enough solution. And debugging? The theorist is all about systematic logical deduction. The pragmatist? They have that spidey sense, that gut feeling from years in the trenches that just screams, you know what? This feels like a race condition. And you see this pattern everywhere. A theorist will learn a new technology by reading the documentation from start to finish. The pragmatist? They'll just find a tutorial that solves the problem they have right now. But the biggest clash, by far, is with legacy code. The theorist sees a mess, and their first instinct is, burn it all down, let's just rewrite the whole thing. The pragmatist knows that's almost always a recipe for disaster. Instead, they'll use something like the strangler fig pattern, where you carefully and slowly replace the old system, piece by piece, without breaking everything. Okay, all this theory is one thing, but let's see how this actually plays out. Imagine a pretty simple task. Build a new API endpoint. We're going to give this same job to 3 different developers and just watch what happens. Okay, so first up is our theorist. They spend 3 whole weeks building this absolutely perfect, clean architecture. It's a work of art, but it's way, way over-engineered for what was needed. Then comes the pragmatist. They ship the thing in 1 day using a raw SQL query. It works, for now, but it's fragile, untested, and a total ticking time bomb. But then there's the third developer. This person blends both styles. They use their street smarts to get a prototype working incredibly fast, but then they immediately apply their academic discipline. They add a simple test. They refactor the messy code into a clean service. They manage to ship fast, and they built it to last. And that third developer, that's who we should all be aiming to become. They're not just a theorist, and they're not just a pragmatist. There's something much more powerful. They're a blend of the two. They are the architect pragmatist. You can think of the architect pragmatist as being bilingual. They're totally fluent in the language of formal computer science. Architecture, design patterns, thinking about long-term consequences. But they're just as fluent in the language of the real world. Deadlines, business needs, and just getting stuff done. The key is they know exactly when to apply that academic rigor and when it's okay to use a street smart shortcut. And this quote pretty much sums up their whole philosophy. You start with that street smart approach, Just build the absolute simplest thing that could possibly work. But, and this is the crucial part, they keep all that academic knowledge in their back pocket ready to go. So they know exactly how to evolve that simple solution into something truly robust and scalable, but only when it's actually needed. Okay, so this ideal developer sounds great, but how in the world do you actually become one? Well, let's get into a real practical playbook with some concrete rules you can literally start using today. So here are a couple of my favorite rules. Fail fast, but instrument everything. This basically means it's totally fine to ship a quick experiment, as long as you have the logs and the metrics in place to actually analyze what happens. And my personal favorite is turn hacks into hypotheses. You know when you try some quick fix and it just works? Don't just move on. Take 60 seconds to write down why you think it worked. Just like that, you've turned a simple shortcut into a real learning moment. So when you're staring at a new task, how do you decide which hat to wear, the theorist hat or the pragmatist hat? Well, you can use this super simple but really powerful formula. Just think about 4 things. What's the risk, the visibility, the cost of failure, and the learning value? Your answer will point you in the right direction. And here's how that looks in the real world. If the combined risk and visibility are really low, like, say, you're building a small internal tool that only 3 people will use, then you should absolutely favor your street smarts. Ship a fast experiment, see what happens, and learn from it. But if the risk and visibility are high, like you're about to change your company's core payment system, that's when you have to lean hard on your academic side. That means formal design docs, proofs, and a very careful staged rollout. Look, becoming an architect pragmatist doesn't happen overnight. It's not about some huge change. It's all about small, consistent habits. After you fix a tricky bug, just take 10 minutes, that's it, to write down why your fix worked. With every single change you make, add one tiny new metric or trace. And then once a week, find a clever hack you used and formalize it into a documented pattern that the rest of your team can use. These little micro habits are what build that bilingual muscle over time. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. I want you to look at the very next task on your to-do list. Just look at that one task and ask yourself, is this a moment for a fast, street-smart experiment, or does this demand a more formal academic design? The answer is going to tell you exactly which hat you need to wear.